stage. Oh yeah, we'll go ahead and sit down.
All right. Yeah. Let's do it.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is John Nine. I am one of the senior programmers of the festival. I want to welcome you to the 2018 Sundance Film Festival and our awesome off-screen series. Thank you for coming. This is my most awesome part of the job, is to introduce people who don't need to be introduced. But I want to actually, before we start, I want to call your attention to a really great set of panels that we have throughout the entire festival, including the Cinema Café TimesTalks collaborations. You're going to see Danny Elfman and Gus Van Sant tomorrow. We have Ira Glass and Miranda July. We've got a bunch of fresh-faced, exciting young talent Sunday afternoon. Ethan Hawke and Rupert Everett on Tuesday. So please come out and listen to some great conversation. These Cinema Café TimesTalks, fabulous collaboration that we've had for many years with the New York Times and their TimesTalks series. I want to throw it over to my colleague, Michelle Gray, creative director of that program.
Thank you. Oh, hello. Thank you so much, John. It's a pleasure to be back here again in Sundance. I just wanted to say a few words about TimesTalks for those of you who aren't familiar with what it is. It's the New York Times live conversation series, which pairs New York Times journalists with the brightest and boldest creative minds from the fields of film, theater, music, art, fashion, and science. And today, it's my pleasure to introduce one of our favorite contributing writers, Logan Hill, who will be moderating this morning's conversation. So thanks so much for coming. Bye.
Such a great way to start off the festival. Thanks everybody for coming out. I want to ask you guys the questions before I ask them questions. Who's here for your first Sundance Film Festival?
Awesome.
That's cool, right? How many of you here are either filmmakers or aspiring storytellers of some sort?
Awesome.
Right? So it looks like they need some advice. This is their first Sundance Film Festival. Kevin, you've been here before.
This is first time I came up here was 24 years ago with Clerks. So I was thinking of that as I know it's a while. It makes me feel old, but it also makes me feel young, because whenever you come up here, you're part of a fraternity, sorority, a club of people. Dreamers, people who are like, I refuse to grow up, I want to make pretend for a living. And that also includes documentarians as well, who are like, fuck you, we're way more serious than that. But the idea of like creating art, like suddenly I'm 47 years old. When you come up here, I'm the same age as when I came up here with Clerks, because I still have the hunger and the passion for storytelling. I never lost that. So I was thinking like, this is a weird story, but I thought about it last night. Last night I do a lot of stand-up, so I did some gigs in Salt Lake City. So I was driving down the mountain from Park City to Salt Lake City, and I was thinking about 24 years ago when I came to the festival. Opening night was in Salt Lake City. There was a movie called What's Cooking. And so me and my producer, Scott Mosier, were like, fuck, it's a film festival. Let's see every film we can. That's what you did back then. So we went down to Salt Lake City. We saw the flick. We had no ride home. And so we were standing out on the street corner, and there was a guy named Mark Tusk, who was the acquisitions guy at Miramax, and he liked our movie at the studio. Nobody else really liked it. He was our one booster. So he saw us and he goes, "You guys, what are you guys doing?" I said, "We need a ride back to Park City." He goes, "Jump in, I'll give you a ride." So we're driving through the mountains, and it's like pitch black. You can't fucking see anything. And he's from Jersey, so I know he don't know where he's going either. And we were kind of like drunk with film festival passion, like, this is crazy, man. Like, we're talking to a guy who actually works in the business. We just came from the open night film. We're going back to Park City. We're talking about movies. And out of nowhere, like, Mark pulls out a joint and starts smoking. And I was like 23, and I honestly, like, it seems weird, but I didn't become a stoner until I was 38. So when I saw that at age 23, that was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. I was like, this motherfucker's so confident. He's just driving and smoking in the hills and shit. And he was like, "You guys want a hit?" And I was like, "No, man," because Nancy Reagan. I was like, "No, just say no." So
we'll talk more about Reagan later.
So I sat there on the drive, and we finally got back to the hotel. And I remember thinking, man, like, that's crazy. Like, I'll never be that guy. I'll never be that cool at the Sundance Film Festival and shit. And I thought of this as I was driving, smoking weed to the gig last night. So life has kind of come full circle, and I finally became Mark Tusk, which I guess was my secret dream.
So if we're going to break down one piece of advice for all these people who've never been to Sundance before, one piece of advice to get them through the week, what are you going to tell them?
Be yourself. Stay yourself. This is I don't want to paint it like some Gustave Doré painting with lots of temptation coming your way, but this is the moment where your life can change. I came up this mountain years ago as a guy who worked at a convenience store, and I left with a career that's been going ever since. Not going as well, but it's been going ever since. Longevity, man. Like in order to stick around for a while, you got to stick to like who you are. I don't know if this is good to say or not, but I still recognize in myself the dope that started this journey years ago. And I still try to honor that kid. Life changes you. You come into contact with different people. Suddenly you have a career as opposed to a job. It can reshape you. This week up here can reshape your lives in ways that you were not thinking prior to this or even dreaming about. Always maintain the you. Even like 24 years on, I still got to honor the kid that started this. I wouldn't be here without that kid's dreams and aspirations and wonder-eyed, like kind of starry-eyed wonder for the aspect that this could be my job. I don't have to just watch other people do this. Like I could do it too. So hold on to yourself. Doesn't matter how much money they throw at you. Doesn't matter what kind of offers they make you, where they'll stream you or anything. I know we all crave an audience. That's why we do it. The audience will eventually find it. But hold on to you, because if you let go of yourself, you will never find yourself again. That's the best advice I could give.
I was thinking about trying to draw connections between you two. You've had vastly different careers, but you've also done tons of different things. I was thinking about your breakthroughs, though, kind of happened around the same time. 94 he's here with Clerks. 92 or so, you're getting signed by Eazy-E. Mm-hmm. Is what Kevin's talking about, that moment in his life and what he was looking for, resonate in terms of where you were at and what you were trying to do at that point?
Yeah, so there's always a mountain to climb, no matter if you're successful or you're just starting off. No matter how successful you are and the next thing you do, guess what? There's that mountain to climb. There's always the naysayers, the door slammers, the skeptics, the cynics, the penny pinchers, and no matter how much money you have, then your financial folks become the penny pinchers and then tell you what to do and what not to do with your own money. So it's always that mountain. So, it's just, how much do you believe in yourself? How crazy are you? It's really, you really have to be crazy to go against comfort and go off on this journey where there's uncertainties and everyone's telling you maybe you shouldn't do that. You really have to be crazy, because there's no recipe for success. Whatever someone told you their recipe for success was really isn't yours, right? You really have to go out and design your recipe, and tolerance and tenacity and sheer insanity is what's going to get you through that mountain, right? Through the tundra, right? Because you got a machete, and yes, but the path ain't, there's that little path, but that path isn't your path. And you could follow that path and you think oh wow, this is not that hard. And you get to that summit and it ain't yours. And you went through somebody's path for nothing. You're really supposed to go out there and cut the tundra, cut the bushes yourself, and get cut and be barefoot and and then build up the calluses on your feet to where now you got freaking like army boots, but they just thick ass toenails and scabby ass feet. And that is what it is. And you get to it, and it ain't pretty. Yeah. And my thing is, just when you fall, be proud that you could get back up and thirst and yearn for the moment to where you fall again, and don't be afraid to fail, right?
That's about the truest thing you'll ever hear. Anybody who wants to do something like this say to you, keep that in mind and in heart. Don't be afraid to fail, and you're gonna fail. Take it from me. I'm the patron saint of cinematic failure, and I still got a career 24 years in, man. Like, you know, failure is temporary and fleeting. Case in point, in 1995, I made a movie called Mallrats, which failed. Don't applaud. Don't. It's not about that. Thank you, but my ego is very good. But I made that movie, came out, made no money, and the critics like hated it and stuff. And I'd started with one movie that people liked, and then the second movie they were like, "This is what happens when you give these Sundance kids money. They waste it and shit." So my career was kind of done, and I would kick the movie. It led to us doing Chasing Amy, which was a career revitalization. But I treated Mallrats like the redheaded stepchild. I at one point apologized for it humorously at the Spirit Awards. 10 years later, that became the movie that most people would come up to me and talk about, and the movie that became most remembered for. And I would sit there and be like, where were you people when the movie came out? We could have used the help. The movie flopped at the box office. And people are like, no, it didn't. It couldn't have flopped. I have it on DVD. And you're like, those two things have nothing to do with each other. But then you realize that nobody remembers your failures but you. In the moment, it seems like everybody's seeing me, like naked and ashamed. But life moves on, and the only person that carries that weight is you. So don't be afraid, just like Will said, don't be afraid of failure. Failure is literally just success training. Nobody gets it right on the first try. I don't give a shit who they are and if they tell you they did. They've tried something similar before, man. Failure is literally success training. I know that sounds like a fucking cat poster, but it's true. I speak from whereas I know. And failure, people are so afraid of that. Like, what if that happens? Accept it. It's a cool thing, man. You don't have to fear it. As Will said, you grow from it, man. The cranky toenail thing was a beautiful analogy. It's true. I mean, I thought it was about hygiene for a second, but he's right. It's about endurance and doing that and stuff. And don't worry, like, you're going to meet people that shout you down because of the age of the internet. And it's the world's a crab pot. If they see you trying to rise up and whatnot, there's 1,000 arms to pull you back down because misery loves company. Don't let that hit you in any sort of way. People saying, like, you can't do this, you're not talented and shit. There's no such real thing as talent, man, especially when it comes to self-expression. That's all it is. That's all we do, self-express for a living. It doesn't really require talent. We got lucky breaks and shit, and we said things at a time that connected with the audience at the right time, but we were given opportunities and stuff. That's not talent. Look around you. See this room? See how there's no beams holding up the ceiling, yet it doesn't crash on your fucking heads? Whoever built this room is talented, man. But it don't take talent to stand up and express yourself. It don't take talent for Will to create music. It's in his blood. It don't take talent for me to create bad movies. It's in my fucking blood. It's weird. After I talk, people go, oh, you're so talented. I'm like, I'm not talented. I like to hear the sound of my own voice. Like, even in my day job, it don't take talent. Like, do you think it takes talent to stand on a movie set with a backwards baseball cap and say nothing? Like, that's the opposite of fucking talent right there. I'll go one step further, man. No film, no movie takes talent. You think it takes talent to stand on a movie set with $50 million in production around you and be like, I'm Batman? Ben Affleck does it, so I know it don't take fucking talent. Don't be afraid of failure, and don't listen to anybody tells you don't have talent, man. That's untrue. They're waiting for your story, I promise you. I know we knock Hollywood a lot on this independent side of the coin, but like, I promise you, every exec over there, even the one that cares about their job the absolute least, is waiting for you to rescue them. Everyone always says all they make is sequels and remakes and shit like that. Yeah, because they're waiting for the original idea that they haven't heard yet. You have that. I don't have it. I've shown them my hands many times. They're like, we get it, walrus man, fuck off. So it's gonna be from one of you, somebody who hasn't had the chance to tell their story yet, man. So when somebody tells you you're not talented, or somebody says, hey man, they ain't gonna work, just do it anyway, because you have something to show for it at the end of the day. Even if it doesn't work the way you wanted, it's gonna work. It's a motion forward, it's productivity. And my friend, I'll surrender the mic, but real quick, my friend Malcolm is a filmmaker. He had a movie up here years ago called Small Town Gay Bar. Independent filmmaker, makes predominantly gay-themed docs, wonderful gay-themed docs. Recently, he had a crisis of conscience where he was just like, nobody sees this stuff I do. I got no audience, man. I've been doing this for like 10, 15 years of my life. Why am I still doing this? You know, he wished for more success. We all wish for more success. People that have been to the absolute top and live there probably wish for more success, man. I wish for more success on a regular basis. I look at the mountaintop every morning and stuff. So I understood what he was saying, but I was like, Malcolm, let me put it like this. You got to make a living, right? Like, you got to pay your rent somehow, and you're managing to do that off of your chosen field. Like, yeah, you want more people to see it. We all want that. But it's a miracle, man, that you ain't out there like delivering mail or laying brick. Like, you're making a living, paying your rent, making art. And maybe not as many people are seeing the art as you want, but that wasn't the bargain. The bargain is you wanted to make stuff, and you're doing it. It's paying for your living. Count your blessings. Keep it up. The audience will find it sooner or later. And the audience that finds it now appreciates the fuck out of it. Don't be afraid of failure, and don't listen to anybody tell you you don't have talent. You have something amazing to offer. You're an amazing little content generator the world hasn't heard from yet. Go generate some content for them. I hand it back to the professionals.
As you guys are both talking, you're both on mountaintops and kind of goals. The idea that you're striving
I've never
to do
been to the
something.
mountaintop. Let's be honest.
well,
like,
but
I've
that-
gotten
that
close. I got
idea.
to base camp 1, you know.
But you see a peak somewhere, you're trying to get somewhere, right?
Yes.
And I imagine that when you were thinking of where you wanted to be in this year, that you were not thinking, I'm going to have a virtual reality project. Like in 1994, you were not thinking the album, you were just teasing me backstage because I asked, like, so when's the next album? He's like, nobody cares about albums anymore, you know? How have your hopes and your ideas of like who you could be or the kind of career you have match up with what you wanted when you were getting your start in this business?
So our first start was just to be able to have a Honda Civic and trick it out. That was it. Like, yo, I can't, man, we get a Honda Civic with rims on it and drop it, put a system in it. And that was really the real dream, the initial dream. And then, you never dream of like, yeah, you tell your mom, I'm gonna buy you a house. But you don't ever think of house shopping, right? You just know that you want to move out the ghetto and you don't want to stand in the welfare line anymore and get, free milk and powdered milk and cheese. You know you don't want that life, right? And music being your way out isn't really logical. Yeah, you see rappers that are like flossing, doing these things, but you don't really, it's a hope, but not a real thing until it happens. Until you go to the record company and they say, hey, you've sold 1 million copies. Like, what? Like, what does that mean, though? I remember one day I was in my car and we were going to a club and I took my wallet out in my glove compartment, and in the glove compartment were checks. And then our A&R at the time said, hey, wait a second, you haven't cashed them checks? I was like, no, I'm saving my money. He was like, well, how much checks do you have in there? I was like, oh, it's about like, $700,000 in checks. I'm saving up to buy my mama a house. Because I thought you buy your mama a house. I didn't know about a mortgage. When you're in the projects, you don't know mortgage. You don't know payments. You don't know, right? I just know, like, there's a check cashing down the street, and eventually I'm gonna cash these checks and then go buy a house. So he was like, yo, well, you need to get a bank account. So finally I get a bank account, get a financial, manager. He's like, hey, by the way, you haven't paid taxes. And then success continues to happen. And after every tour, Black Eyed Peas, my mind is like, when's the next time we're gonna do this again? Or we'll be celebrating like, yo, we just played the Super Bowl. And I'll be like the grumpy one in the corner like, but what's next? I'm always like, what's next? Or like, will be through success or having
So
on a
even-
way to success.
Even like after Obama's inauguration, the next day you're like, oh, I just got to find out what I'm doing tomorrow. Did you ever take like a few days where it feels good?
No, so
No.
so after this, I go to after Sundance, I go to Davos, and what you notice is no matter if it's like the World Economic Forum or Davos, people have dreams, and there's people that are dreaming, that want to do something different than what their current day-to-day is. No matter, like I said, no matter how much money you have, there's still dreams and desires. Because if you didn't have dreams, you're just at home, you're on vacation all the time, and you remove yourself from the hustle and bustle. But we're up in this mountain because we're dreamers. Those people that are at Davos are dreaming, and they have solutions to problems. And we're here on this mountain because we have solutions to problems. One is entertainment, the other one is government, and the do-gooders that want to go out and solve problems in third world countries or inner cities, and we want to get people escape. Right? It's still problems that we're solving. And I always look at the past to give me a better understanding of what's happening now. So right now it's really 1918. 1918, if this was a panel, we're all theatrical. We play at some theater, and if I'm a singer, then I'm at some opera. And there's no movies, there's no radio stations, there's no record companies, right? In a dominant way. That's not the means of, how, talent makes a living. Those are side projects and dreams to solve a problem on this new technology. A cinematic close-up hasn't been invented yet. A DP is not a career. An editor, think about all the jobs that are not in 1918 that we have now.
Podcaster, virtual reality creator.
Right? So virtual reality today is the new television. It's just there's no form for it. For example, TV has, there's a form for it. It's like 60-30. If you're either doing a 30-minute piece of content or a 60-minute piece of content. And here's some commercials that's either 15 or 30 seconds or 60 seconds. So everything is in this like 30-60 block. And that math, that little box hasn't been for AR and VR yet. It's the Wild Wild West. It's the most creative, for true dreamers, world builders, AR, VR is it. For example, imagine I was a coder and I'm like, yo, bro, I'm gonna do this app. Because I noticed back in the day people used to hitchhike and shit. I'm gonna create this app that allows like digital hitchhiking, and you just type in your coordinates and strangers are gonna show up with the fucking car and take you everywhere you wanna go. Right? That was somebody's idea. Now it's called fucking Uber. And for every Uber, there's some guys like, yo, you heard Uber? Yeah. Mine's gonna be better though. It's called Lyft. I'm just gonna have any type of car with some freaking like disco pink light. Everybody's gonna hop in it. And so the same for housing. Housing's like, yo, man, I got some house that I don't really use. I'm gonna allow strangers to stay in it. Or I got this room that I don't use, and I'm gonna stay in somebody's fucking room while they living in their house. Think about lodging. If you're Starwood Hotel, if you're the local taxi cab company, these ideas were rambunctious and crazy ideas, actually. Now, Pokemon made a lot of money. You tell me the other Pokemon. There is no other Pokemon. There's a Uber, there's a Lyft, there's Airbnb, there's some other house share shit. There's a Spotify, there's a Pandora, there's a Pokemon, and just a Pokemon. That goes to show you that what storytelling and gathering is with global, geo-tracking and location storytelling, virtual reality where you're immersed in something and world building, that's where we're going. And TV and radio and movies are theater and opera. It's 1800s and the 1900s about to come. That's where we are right now. It's 2018, and what we thought a movie was, I saw some shit called The Void If you haven't heard of The Void, you need to check that shit out. Ralston is our security in the back. He's a ninja over there. He's never seen The Void, so he's a Marine. And so I'm like, maybe Ralston shouldn't go play Star Wars because his thing's gonna be shooting at him. And so Ralston's like, yo, Will, I just did the Star Wars experience. That's the best shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, I've trained in the military and they have like virtual training. This surpasses what the U.S. military has for our military to go out there and train.
I should say, I didn't do a proper job introducing the project you're working on, which is why we're talking about virtual reality, which is Masters of the Sun, this comic book with Marvel Comics, which sort of tells a story about 80s LA and uses kind of the crack epidemic as a trigger for a metaphor that the story is sort of a zombie infestation. But I just came from the Oculus show where I got to watch the first couple of VR episodes. They're an adaptation of the comic strip. And that's a link between the two of you, it is, because you've actually done a little bit of augmented reality, and Stan Lee, or maybe not really? No?
I mean, I smoke weed. Is that what you mean?
Somebody did. That's what I was thinking.
augment reality all the time.
That's what I was thinking.
I don't need a fucking phone for that, I'll tell you that much.
We'll talk about Stan Lee then. You two have Stan Lee in common. One degree of separation.
I think what you're thinking of is for Legion M.
Yeah.
The Legion M is a group of online fan investors. They put together a budget to shoot a interview with Stan Lee in virtual reality. So they used what are we up to now? 6K, 8K, or whatever. I was like, what is this? Well, can we watch playback? I said, we can't watch playback. The camera's so advanced, there's no monitor to play it back yet. And I was like, really? They're like, yeah, when you're working VR, you got to work way ahead by the time it's done. So it's meant to be a legacy piece, a long interview about his life in his house, in the room. So you can, when it's done, presumably you'll be able to walk up to us and poke us and stuff. But we won't speak. We'll be talking to each other. But what he's talking about is way cooler. I took a VR experience at the William Morris offices. They were like, why don't you come in and fuck around? So I came in and put on the goggles, and you'd seen it in movies, and I'd had friends talk about it. But it's astoundingly immersive. They put goggles on me, and they put me underwater, and I was standing on the hull of a boat, and a giant whale. And it's not like it's so realistic where you're like, I'm drowning. It looks Pixar-ish, like there's an uncanny valley thing. You're not in the real world. But it was so huge and so frightening and so immersive and so around me. I pulled off the goggles. I was scared, and they laughed at me and shit. So he's right, man. It's where people are going to go. Like, after I did it, I was like, how long was I in there? They're like 30 seconds. And I was like, I could do that for hours, like minutes or hours, like any time. Like nowadays with free time, go to the bathroom, you're on your phone. In the future, it'll probably be like, I'm strapping this on and going under the water.
So Will, did this experience working on Masters of the Sun, did lead you, do you think you're going to do more of this? Is this something you're interested in being a part of going forward?
Yeah, so making a book come to life, scoring every single page, calling my, hey, Hans Zimmer, let's score a book. He was like, the fact, Will, that you said, let's score a book, is why I want to score a book with you. So,
also the fact that your Rolodex is like, let me call Hans Zimmer, let me call Queen Latifah, Jamie Foxx, Slick Rick, KRS-One, this crazy list of people do the voices
Stan
for
Lee
as well. Stan Lee.
Jason Isaacs, Jaden Smith, and amazing cast for a book. And then we took the same synopsis of the story and have a hybrid and virtual reality. So most virtual reality are like these little experiences. So we have like a 90-minute story in VR. So right now there's 60 million VR headsets deployed in the world. Whether it's Google Cardboard or Samsung Gear or Google Daydream or Oculus Rift or HTC Vive. That's 60 million VR headsets, 2018, in January. By Christmas 2018, it'll double. So if you just get 10% of the market with an hour's piece of content, split up 10 different episodes. Let's use ghetto math. You have 100 million VR headsets deployed by Christmas 2018. if you get 10% of 100 million audience, and you have 10 episodes for $1, how much money did you make?
Enough to get a Honda Civic, that's for sure.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Think about this untapped market that nobody's talking about, actually. There's no barrier, right? So in 1918, Charlie Chaplin was like, yo, we're gonna do a new studio for this new technology. Like, fuck these theaters. Right? Theaters, I've done that. I'm tired, I'm leaving London, I'm going to LA, which is really Mexico at the time. I'm gonna start this thing called United Artists for film. That's the same kind of pioneering mentality you have to have with VR today. Like, yo, I'm doing fucking VR. Who makes it? Any VR people here? Actually, yeah, 2. Ain't that pretty awesome? Right, so next time you go watch The Matrix, ask yourself, I wonder what company that is that's providing reality to people that are plugged into some pods. That's a scary thought, actually.
Yeah, I think you're selling us away from VR now. Quick, go back to the other thing.
Pods would be a good business. I think pods would be.
Now we see your master plan.
No. But think about what we're doing nowadays. Nowadays, we're like on the phone, on the toilet, giving every second of our lives to some like cloud that knows everything. So there's a song that our parents used to sing to us when we were younger. It said, you better not shout, you better not cry. No, so better not pout, you better not cry. Better watch out, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Cool and great. But then there's this other freaking stanza in the freaking thing. He knows when you are sleeping. What? He knows when you are awake. What the fuck? He knows when you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness. How the fuck he know all that shit though? Look, Santa Claus.
Hold on, we just saw a live remix of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. That was pretty amazing. Let's soak that in for a second.
So how
Get
the
it
fuck?
at nytimes.com.
But how did he know all that shit? Like if Santa Claus was today, he'd be like, oh, of course, he's Google. Right? If that was Google's commercial, you would not search anymore. Real shit.
So, if we're getting into, the way tech is changing fandom in a lot of ways too, some of which are pretty apocalyptic or dark, right? And Kevin, you've definitely done your rounds with online fans of all sorts.
Yeah.
You've kind of faced the trolls repeatedly. And I did want to talk to you too about how fandom is changing, how you connect with your fans and how that relationship is changing with technology. Kevin, when you look at this world of comics in particular, we're talking about Masters of the Sun. Black Panther has been very controversial. I mean, I can't wait to see it, but it seems like there was a bit of a backlash when it was first announced, or Black Spider-Man was announced. There's been controversies over race.
I don't remember any controversy for Black Panther, to be fair.
Well,
the only thing you hear
been-
about Black Panther is it's selling a lot of fucking tickets in advance.
Right.
That's the only news piece I've heard. But
Yeah.
going back to your question.
Oh, but I feel like these debates are happening louder and more intensely, like over Star Wars. I think you recently chimed in on the sort of split reactions to Star Wars. How does it change your sense of like what it's like to tell a story to a mass audience like that with that immediate reaction from fans?
I mean, you don't really think about it. That was always going to be there. Now we're just more connected and more people can hear other people's thoughts. But there's no difference from when I started making stuff to today, in as much as if you're ever going to make stuff, you risk, somebody going, that fucking blows. And so you got to be able to deal with that. That's the beginning of online discourse. Somebody being like, I like this. And somebody driving by being like, fuck you, it sucks. And so that's how it begins. You got to respect it all. I mean, it sucks as much as I've been doing this since 95. We had a website, viewaskew.com, where we had a message board and stuff. And, I like the idea of, oh my God, I could talk to people that bought tickets. Like, that's who I'm most interested in hearing from, not like the press, or the box office figures. I want to know, like, what made somebody get up on that Friday night, go out and pick my fucking movie and stuff. So we started this website, viewskew.com, had a message board, and it kind of looks like Reddit does today. It's just a whiteboard with letters on it and stuff. And the idea was like, I'll never be alone again. I could always be in contact with the fan base. But once you open the door to the fan base, you open the door to people that just want to see shit burn as well. So for a while, you go through stages, God bless you, you go through stages where you're like combative, and then you try to be wittier about it, and then you just kind of accept it. It's the price of doing business. And that's just talking about people who are being negative for the sake of negative, not even talking about people who have valid arguments and stuff like that. It's just part of the process at this point. Whatever you're going to make, or whatever, even if you're not making something, if you're going to step out and like I was talking on a podcast, and that's where that Last Jedi thing came from. Suddenly it becomes like a news article where people are like, he said this, and it's like, that's not news that I have an opinion. Everybody has a fucking opinion of the movie. It's weird. It's just one more thing to deal with. But to be fair, I've been dealing with it since we started, so there's never been a period of adjustment. It just got louder and bigger, and more people got involved.
Has the way you relate to fans changed, you think, over the years?
So social media, comments, likes, hearts, thumbs ups, thumbs downs, you got to ignore all that shit because it's just gas. So if you could block out comments and you just have a bubble of nice stuff, that's not healthy, right? So if you pay attention to the bad stuff, it's going to keep you away from dreaming, and that's not healthy either. So you kind of have to you have to ignore that. You can't sustain a career when that is your barometer. So real fans are folks that show up, pay for something, and those conversations you have face to face. Because anybody could say the most hideous, most disrespectful stuff and hide behind the screen. And then that same person, when they see you in person, is gonna say, man, I love that shit. Can I take a picture? My daughter's gonna kill me, as if everyone rehearsed the same freaking picture question. My daughter's gonna kill me if I don't ask for a picture. So you gotta take everything like a grain of salt, except for when you're face to face and brave enough to ask, like Chris Milk asked me today, hey, what did you think of it? I need your honest opinion. I need honest feedback. Okay, I love this, I love that. I really wanted to see this more. And you have to ask, when you ask, like, hey, tell me what do you think about Masters of the Sun? Do you really like Street Living? What did you like about it? What do you hate about it? Like, what would you have liked to see us do? And that type of, you have to be the guy that talks in the elevator and not be the irritating person that talks when you're flying from LA to New York and the person wants to sleep. You just have to engage and treat everyone as friends, not fans. Because fans, they're gonna like something else tomorrow. But a friend is always gonna wanna see you win, and more importantly, they're gonna be honest. So how do you turn strangers into friends and friends into family? Because fans is when you put yourself above them and look down upon, right? When really they're the reason why you exist.
We're going to open this up to questions in just a second, so think about yours, and we'll pass around a mic in just a minute.
I would be remiss if I didn't advocate for old media before we got out of here. VR is wonderful, and it definitely is the future. But just like when movies came in, theater, Broadway didn't go away, like live performance didn't go away. Cinema, film will never go away. So everyone up here who's like listening going, wait, if virtuality is the future, what the fuck am I doing here? No, there's absolutely still a place and will always be a place for traditional storytelling. That place is called Netflix lately, but generally speaking, there will always be somewhere to take care of filmed entertainment as well, two-dimensional stuff.
Yeah, and Kevin, I want to tell you, we'll be talking here throughout the week about sort of who gets to tell stories. Obviously, the sort of Me Too movement, stories about sexual harassment and abuse have, we've been breaking those stories to the New York Times repeatedly. And Kevin, as someone whose films were produced by Harvey, you've been outspoken about it. You've said you're giving all the residuals from your films that Harvey produced.
I would correct that. I don't know that I've been outspoken about it. I just said something about it.
Right.
I wasn't out on a platform. I'd said, hey man, I was on my podcast, Hollywood Babylon, and I said, I didn't sign up for this. I just wanted to tell some stories. I didn't know that it was connected to this. And this was a guy who made all my dreams come true, and it seems like it was at the cost of other people. And now all that stuff I worked on, what do I do with it at this point? So I realized that I wasn't involved, but there's still something I could have done. I said all my Weinstein, Miramax residuals, I'll donate from here going forward to women in film. And that was just me going like, here, don't, stop. I ain't saying it for that. I'm just trying to tell the story. So at a certain point, they asked, do you want to go out there and tell your fellow filmmakers to do the same thing? Other people that worked with Miramax and Weinstein. And that was where it felt weird to me. I'm like, I don't want to politicize this. This is my gesture. I had nothing to do with this, but this is what I feel about it. This is how I want to play my part. I didn't feel like it was my place to be like, and now all of you follow suit. I saw Ben Affleck did it shortly thereafter. That was kind of sweet. But that was his decision. That wasn't me going, jump on the train or anything like that.
I mean, and I was going to ask you, I think everybody is reacting to this in their own personal way and trying to figure out how to make a difference. For you, as as the weeks are passing and more of these cases are breaking, is it changing the way you're thinking about the industry or how you're going to work in the industry going forward?
No, I mean, no, it's eye-opening to how, for me, a dream job was a horror show for a lot of other people. I've always tried to keep my side of the street as clean as possible, but you never know if you unintentionally hurt somebody or something like that. But at the same time, there's, this ain't bragging and this ain't justifying, but like I've been doing that work for a while. Yoga Hosers was an all-female production crew. I think I was the only male involved and stuff. I've always wanted to be around female coworkers because this sounds stupid, but they're creative. They're literally the only gender that can create life, you know what I'm saying? So it feels like if you're on a movie set, somebody who could literally create a human being could probably come up with a good idea or two for making some make-pretend. So that's always kind of been a part of my world. It's not like, well, now I got to change my whole way of being, I guess.
All right, we'll take some questions. We'll start right over here. Thank you.
They're bringing you a mic.
We'll get it to you.
So, Will, back to the question as far as how we can make a difference. Can you talk to us a little bit about you going vegan?
Yes. Oh, me being vegan? Thought you never asked. So, traveling a lot, jumping from place to place, brings about bad habits. Not just eating for energy, and a lot of times you're eating, just junk, cookies and, delicious Snickers and chips and guacamole. Just kidding. With that comes consequences. So I gained like a bunch of pounds. I weighed 210 in October. And then I had this bronchitis, and I couldn't beat it. It was like just coughing and coughing for a month. And because I wasn't sleeping enough, I was eating bad, straining my body with, compound cheese and bread and meat, and eating before I sleep, and my body's working while it's trying to rest. So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Here's some pills. I'm like, pills? I'm like 42 years old. Like, why do I have to take pills? Why can't you tell me to change my regimen, work out, and eat? He was like, these nutritionists, you really can't trust them. So I was like, well, the FDA allows McDonald's to be on every street corner. Like, I'm supposed to trust that? And so I was like, I'm just going to change my regimen. So he's like, well, if you take the pills, your blood pressure and high cholesterol is going to come down in 2 months. Promise you that. And you're risking heart disease. Runs in your family. My family's diabetic. And heart disease runs in my family. So I was like, you know what? So me and Apple, my best friend, went on a retreat where it was plant-based. We Woke up every morning at 5 a.m., did yoga, walked up the mountain to eat breakfast at 7 to 8. At 8 o'clock, you start your hike. From 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you're hiking. You come back at 12 to eat lunch. 12 to 1 o'clock, you start stretching again. 1 to 2 o'clock, you work out. 2 to 3 o'clock, you get a massage. 3 to 4, you go back up to work out again. 4 to 5, you take a break. 5 to 6, you do some yoga. 7 to 8, you have dinner. You're knocked out by 8:30. By doing that 10 days, my cholesterol came down. I lost 8 pounds. So by the end of our retreat, I'm like, yo, what are we gonna do when we get back home? And we're bullied by the food industry. We're bullied by, billboards everywhere that's just peddling and pushing poison in your body. So I was like, dude, it's gonna be hard out there. So I was like, yo, we gotta have like a gangster mentality about this shit. So I was like, yo, and my friends were like, you can't say you're vegan. You just been vegan for 2 weeks. I was like, I'm not vegan. V-gang? So I started the V-gang, which is like gangsta ass motherfucking eating motherfuckers, man. So that's what we do now. So you don't come around me with no burger, nigga. That's some fighting words. Real shit. So I'm hardcore with that shit.
We finally figured out what you're going to do with all that junk inside your trunk.
I'm jumping people in the V-gang, so if you guys want to join the V-gang, what we do is we put you up against the wall and we just throw lettuce at you. And then you initiate it. That's our initiation. So let us put you into this lifestyle.
All right. So just out of curiosity, since you guys are both creators and, there's all this technology coming out and all this really cool stuff, do you ever kind of feel like you're more reactive or active in thinking of like new ideas? It's like, yeah, the technology doesn't exist yet, but I've got this idea that maybe one day, if it all works out, it's going to be really cool. Or do you kind of feel like based on what you have right now and what's limited, like, okay, I'm just going to work with what I'm given in terms of like the VR and stuff like that. So I don't know what your approach might be to that.
His is vastly different, I imagine. He's obviously a forward thinker. I'm an indie filmmaker, so I come from the world of that's good enough. Like in order to get anything accomplished, you can't be like, my God, we're going for perfection here, because you don't have the time, the budget, the means, or anything like that. So you learn early on to be like, that's good enough. That's close to what I wanted to do. That's good enough. After my first film I ever made got picked up, and people were like, that's good enough. Like, that set the bar for my entire fucking career. I would hear about other filmmakers who aspired to win awards and fucking like raise the level of their craft and shit, and I was just like, why? This is good enough. And so I've always been that person. I've never looked to new technologies. I got lucky with some shit that I was in on early, like the internet. I was way into social media very early. Podcasting, I was way into early. We're celebrating the next month 11 years of Smodcast. So we've been podcasting for almost half the time that I've been making films as well. But for film, I've never been the Jim Cameron guy who's like, I got an idea, it's going to take 10 years to build the camera for it, but it'll make $1 billion. I'm not that person at all. I bet you are.
Yeah, so for me, I'm not Quincy Jones. I'm not a Miles Davis. I'm not a Jimi Hendrix. My instrument has always been the computer. So I'm a technologist. And because me making music is through the interface of a computer. So I go out hunting and looking for new technology to express myself through. So, whether it's Pro Tools and all the short codes to be able to, make music, or iPhones and, technology like that Rollies bring into market, or artificial intelligence, and now augmented and virtual reality, my whole hunter-gatherer experience, person that I am is trying to hunt and gather for new tools. The technology's there, so there's nothing to wait for. What the technology is now waiting for the dreamers to dream up these worlds. Like it's the first time in human history where the art and the technology are now aligned. So, for example, there's a movie called Ready Player One that's coming out. So that's going to be great. So if this came out in the 80s, you'd be like, wow, I can't wait for that technology. Right? So Lawnmower Man was in the late 80s. You're like, wow, I can't wait for that. The technology wasn't there yet. It's the first Star Wars, you're like, yo, man, them lifesavers. When is that shit coming? Ready Player One, that shit's real. It's the void. Their office is right down the hill in Utah when you're on your way up to Park City. It's here. The void is amazing. Disney invested in it. You go experience Star Wars. It's amazing. And so, but that's old properties. The new properties in this technology are going to come from folks like us, folks that are dreaming about characters that are native to the platform. That's what's exciting, you know.
Do another question. Let's see. Right here. Yep.
I'm curious to know, Kevin, would you ever make a VR 360 film? And Will, having made one already, would you go back in and double dip?
Maybe make one together?
Yeah, maybe make one together.
So, we're already working on part 2 for Masters of the Sun Zombie Chronicles. So, the book will be ready for Comic-Con San Diego. And the same way that we rolled out this one, where we go to San Diego, release the book, we go to New York, release the AR. We go to Stan Lee's Comic-Con LA and announce the VR. We discovered that. Those are the windows to do it, and now we're going to repeat that now and then create new properties. So I launched a book with Penguin Random House in 3 weeks. The book is called Wizards and Robots, which is a property that I envisioned with this dude by the name of Brian David Johnson. We were both futurists at Intel. So in 2010, I was a futurist at Intel. So they have the futurist department where you're there to help consult on all new technologies and how to get them in the hands of folks and what popular culture might think about them, how would they adopt them easier. So I sat in the futurist department there, and while we were there, I was freaked out about artificial intelligence. But then saw the optimistic side of artificial intelligence, and that's what the book's about, Wizards and Robots.
I went and, as I've mentioned previously, to my agency's office to try out the experience because they wanted me to go out and start talking to people. They're like, hey man, there's a whole new place, go out there and speak to folks. So I went to speak to a couple folks. I'm probably not supposed to say this now, but and it could probably fall apart at any fucking minute, but the people at STX were interested in this idea. I went and sat with them and shit, and they were telling me about what you could do. It's tough to get your head as a traditional filmmaker around the medium because I'm like, well, is there 3 acts? When does it begin and end? And blah, blah, blah. So we're right now in the middle of putting together this deal for 30 minutes of content, which is about 6 different shorts or something like that. And the idea I came up with was, get ready for it, Jay and Silent Bob. And so in this version, like I was trying to, the one thing that I dig about, or one thing that is weird about VR is that you can't interact really with the people. You're kind of a spectator in most situations of the viewed entertainment experience. So I said, what if we took me out of it and you are Silent Bob, because he don't talk anyway. So then you'd be a kind of, it makes sense in the game. And so Jay will be the one that's constantly talking to you, and then the experience begins. So it's going to take my head a while to get around how to tell that story, because it's not like there's no beginning, middle, end. It's just this kind of, it's an experience that just kind of happens. But I might take some advice from this cat, because he's already done the same thing, breaking up Masters of the Sun. Maybe the idea is to make one thing and then kind of compartmentalize it. I guess, right? Yeah. I've got to put my head around it.
We've just got a few more minutes, and I appreciate everybody standing in the back. Is anybody standing want to ask a question? Right? I prefer questions, to be honest. Can you make your... Yeah, sure. Standing up right there.
Me? Oh, howdy. I'm a senior in high school, but I'm applying to colleges, and I have a question from the perspective of like a young filmmaker. And you've been talking about all like I guess like the advances in technology and all that Black Mirror shit. But like I was wondering if there's anything being lost for young filmmakers with the advance in technology, because of course with like the whole digital and VR, we're gonna like of course young filmmakers aren't gonna like really care about like how films were made back then unless you like go to like some like art history class and you're like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. So I was just wondering if there's going to be any loss in that.
Even if it just comes down to being like records, where like some people still collect records and treat it real seriously, film's never going to go completely away. Well, I mean, it did. It's no longer film. So we accept small changes as they happen throughout time, but I look at it the other way. As all the futurists and industry people are pushing toward VR, that leaves a big, open, gaping hole where all those people used to be making traditional films. That gives you a chance to fill a hole. If you see a hole in life, fill it. That sounds dirtier than I mean it, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we're all heading over there, that's your time to get over the fence and be like, great, I'll play with these fucking toys now. Take it up. It's not a dead medium by any stretch of the imagination. We're all up here in the mountain because of this medium. Film is still very much alive and well. And while it's going in interesting new directions and stuff, the traditional storytelling will always exist. Like cancer will be with us always. So don't worry about it. It's not going anywhere. But take this time, take advantage of this moment where everybody's looking to the future to take hold of the past and make it your present. Does that make sense?
So last question for you. In terms of those storytelling values that survive no matter what the medium, no matter how new the technology, working on this, does it make you think about certain things, that just certain storytelling values that matter no matter what the form?
Yeah, no matter if it's theater, opera, film, a book, there's a through line that connects it, right? How you tell that story, how you really, define the character and their history and the myths, right? So Joseph Campbell and the hero has a, what's that? Yeah, that one. Those theories, those principles stay in place no matter what the medium is. You're able to tell a richer story that's similar to this life in VR. The thing that I love about the film industry is the internet didn't destroy it like it destroyed the music industry. So if you think about like 2000s and with pirating and sharing of songs and films, you would have thought the film industry would have seen the same doom as the record industry. But Game of Thrones and saying, hey, we're gonna move from 30 minutes to an hour, we're gonna do 8 hours, y'all. Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, on Netflix with Narcos, long pieces of content that inspire you to binge them, which I never even thought that was gonna happen. I thought it was just gonna be blockbusters as usual. Like, I love series more than I like a blockbuster film because, damn it, I want more from Star Wars. I just don't want the 2 hours. I want 8 hours. Right? So Game of Thrones did that to me. Lost did that to me till they fucked it up in the end. But,
they had you right up to that last hour, didn't they?
You know what I mean? But that's why really hats off to the film industry for redefining it. And all the folks that are a part of Game of Thrones, they get paid really well. But when you think of the making of an album and a video, everyone's not getting paid really well. Right? It's still experienced on the same screen. You're still watching it on your phone. And yeah, maybe some of us see it at home, but the majority of us are watching it on this screen. It's the reason why Netflix is so powerful. So to the point of still, making films traditionally, just like my mom, she called me a couple of weeks ago, was like, Willie, did you see Hamilton? It's like, yes, Ma, I saw Hamilton. Why? Because I just saw that. You seen how they rapping from the beginning to the end? I was like, yeah, I'm like really, really jealous of that. Like, I gotta go back to rap school because they fucking killed it. But to the point where even theater hasn't went away. But Game of Thrones is the illest. But the Game of Thrones and the Hamiltons are on the verge of being invented in VR. That's right around the corner. That's the exciting part, because how do you make the Game of Thrones and the freaking Hamiltons of VR?
That's a great note in this. And what's exciting is really getting to kick off Sundance talking to the two of you. We really appreciate your time. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you.